Welcome back. Yes, we are switching gears to the education sector. We did mention this week the controversy that has trailed the latest JAMB results release. And in this instance, yes, a lot of people did complain. Initially, JAMB had said, oh, this is a trend they have noticed in the last couple of years. It's unclear why there are so many complaints, but it would seem that they have soft-pedaled a bit and have now released another statement saying that they are going to take a second look at the complaints that people are making. In the statement that they released, they say they acknowledge the significant volume of unusual complaints following the release of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination results, which were officially published last Friday. In response, the board is fast-forwarding its annual system review, a comprehensive post-mortem of the examination process that is conducted each year, months after the exercise. So they're bringing it forward. And they say they're particularly concerned about the unusual complaints originating from a few states within the Federation. So it doesn't seem to have affected all of the country. It says they're currently scrutinizing these complaints in detail to identify and rectify any potential technical issues. To assist in the process, they've engaged a number of experts, including members from the Computer Professionals Association of Nigeria, chief external examiners who are heads of tertiary institutions, the Educational Assessment and Research Network in Africa, measurement experts, and vice chancellors from various institutions. And the last line says, if it is determined that there were indeed glitches, we will implement appropriate remedial measures promptly, as we do in the case of the examinations themselves. This statement is signed by Dr. Fabian Benjamin, who is the public communication advisor at JAMB. So this is the new statement issued by JAMB, say they're going to be looking at the complaints so far. They're fast-forwarding their review, and they have these very eminent bodies, and that if they did find, or if they do find that there are glitches in the processes, they would issue remedial remedy, as the case might be. Well, to take a look at this latest stance of JAMB and perhaps what should happen, is this comprehensive enough? We have joining us this morning Mr. Boson Ayeni, who is the CEO of Compumetrics. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Malcolm. Good to see you again.
Well, by the way, I'm sure you must have done really well in your JAMB. Were you surprised when you saw the scores released by JAMB on Friday last week?
Well, Malcolm, I wasn't surprised. Thank you for mentioning that. I believe I did well.
You weren't surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. In fact, my first reaction when I saw the statistics that about 70%, nearing 80% didn't score above 200, I was like, isn't that normal, you know? And indeed, in recent time, it's near normal than disnormal in terms of pass rate. However, yes, well, thanks for asking about my result. I wrote JAMB in 1992, a long time ago. I'm one of the privileged people that were lucky. In fact, my friend would tell me, blessed to write it once. So passing JAMB at first instance is a blessing in Nigeria.
Indeed.
Yeah, and the situation has gotten worse, Malpe.
Sadly.
I have just done a quick engagement with ChatGPT. I didn't have to check anywhere else, asking series of questions. And the hypothesis, my position based on the data publicly available, is that more people are passing JAMB than ever before, scoring 300 and above. And a lot more people are failing JAMB than ever before, scoring below 200. So what that suggests is that the disparity between those who do well and those who don't in JAMB has widened significantly, especially since CBT started.
Some people will say, doesn't that speak to our educational system?
Not quite. Because if you look at that in comparison with WAEC, the number of people that sit for these two exams are comparatively close, difference of 10%, 5%, 10%. So each one can be a mirror for the other. And the number of people that have 5 credits in WAEC, including English and Maths, since CBT started for JAMB, has been improving.
For JAMB or WAEC?
For WAEC. Whereas for JAMB, the case has been a reverse. So the hypothesis would be to say that something about the CBT is widening the gap. Now, of course, traditionally, as students, we will say JAMB is more difficult than WAEC. So
I thought so.
I thought so too, and I'm sure most students think so. So the fact that there is a difference in the pass rate is not the issue. The issue is that these two exams have a different direction, inversely proportional in their trend. So, and it's the same, well, similar numbers, and I'm sure quite a number of students write WAEC and JAMB in the same year. So the question would be, what is happening differently? What's going on with JAMB?
Yeah. So for me, I thought you were going to go ahead to to answer that question when you posed it, because I don't imagine that it's a rhetorical question. What is happening differently with JAMB, and why were you not surprised when you saw the results? If you were not surprised when you saw the results, were you surprised when you heard the complaints that trailed the results?
Yeah, so it's the complaint that actually got my attention, not the score.
Okay.
You know, seeing a lot of people complain, you then begin to ask, okay, JAMB, what really happened? And their response sheds some light. Now, I'll take it from two perspectives. First, luckily for me, I'm in the IT space. And personally, professionally, I've written over 50 CBT exams for professional certification track. So it's something most IT people are familiar with. CBT exams are usually easy to do, easy to write. In most instances, they give you results immediately or a few days after. What I think is going on with JAMB, and I'll keep putting this in the space of hypothesis, think, and so on, is that the students writing JAMB they are facing tests, not just for the content of JAMB questions or the exam, but they're also being evaluated implicitly for their use of computer. And that perhaps is what's making a difference. And it would be nice to see much granular data around performance in city centers versus performance in outer city centers, performance in the north versus in the south, where you would assume that computer appreciation and access to computers, there is a significant difference, especially at secondary school level. So it would be nice to look at those things. It's important for JAMB to be a bit more granular and analytical in the data that they've produced since 2013 when they started the CBT program. So yeah, it's not surprising from that perspective, but I'm sure there are certain things JAMB can look at and improve the performance.
Well, now they have released a statement and they have talked about this experts that they are engaging, including members of the Computer Professionals Association, chief external examiners, heads of tertiary institutions, educational assessment and research network in Africa, etc., etc. How confident are you that this particular committee or experts that they engage in, I don't think it's a committee before I put words in your mouth, but that these experts that they're engaging will actually be able to get to the bottom of what the complaints that they're receiving are?
Yeah, I mean, nice pool set of experts. I think anyone will perhaps maybe want to add one or two, but otherwise it sounds really perfect pool set. But what is more important is the data set made available to these experts. JAMB need to make available data pre-CBT and CBT, year by year, detailed, granular statistical information that can be analyzed with AI these days, and in a day or two can provide certain trend. We can take specific hypotheses and validate those by just analyzing the data. For example, just looking at what is publicly available, it will seem that the disparity between those who do well, there are more students scoring above 300. About 10 years ago, only, in fact, pre-CBT, 2012, I think, only 3 people scored higher than 300. And now they're having percentages and huge numbers of people doing that. At the same time, the fail rate, if I may use that word, is increasing significantly. So, but that is not the case for all tertiary exams. So is it that JAMB is becoming more difficult as the difficulty of the exam is itself been stepped up? If that is not the case, then JAMB needs to be able to look at it and know why that is going on.
I know Ayo has questions for you. Ayo.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. One first question that comes to my mind is something that a number of people have also spoken to, and that is the fact that some of the students who wrote the exams may have been seeing a computer in their localities for the very first time. How do you think that plays out here?
Fantastic point, Ayo. JAMB, I think, out of about 700 and just below 800 testing centers. Nigeria's local government is about 774. So an average of 1 center per local government nationwide. Whereas city or prominent economic centers such as Lagos, Rivers, FCT and all will have multiples. So what this tells you is that in several local governments in Nigeria, they don't have a JAMB center. What this also suggests is that looking at primary school IT penetration and secondary school in Nigeria, there will be a significant number of students that are sitting with a computer for the first time writing JAMB. When I was preparing for JAMB in 1992, it was the paper pencil test, PPT, that we all, and that's what we prepared for, that's what you use for practice. So sitting in the exam fever, as we call it here, was significantly lowered because what you practice with is what you are used to. So again, it will be important as part of the analysis for JAMBs to take feedback from the students. How many practice with computers? How many of them did not? There are measures I understand that JAMB have put in place. They have a mock exam program a few weeks before the main exam. Perhaps they should push for the mock exam to be more mandatory so that the students have a chance to be familiar with the test centers, with the test structure in a real-life scenario. So that would reduce the challenges that they face. Another issue, apart from being there for the first time, is that there are a lot of local issues at the testing centers themselves. So perhaps that's another thing you would maybe want us to talk about.
Well, that's something to talk about as well. You may just want to add to that the fact that according to some people, there were glitches in some of the devices or at some of the centers, the CBT centers that people used to write this examination. Add to that the internet integration or a lack of it in some of these communities.
Yes, that's true. My understanding of the way JAMB have set up these exams is that they pretty much work offline at the CBT centers. So the CBT center will go online with JAMB staff, download the question, and then they stay offline for the people to test and run the exam. So where there are glitches, they are pretty much localized to those centers. Now, despite all the glitches, I would say that this scenario we're facing in JAMB is not a technical problem. It is more of a strategic planning and an operational or project/program management problem. JAMB manages each exam set from when they begin to set the question people buy from to when they release the results. So looking at the entire chain of activities and managing that successfully, I would say hasn't gone very well this time under a usual stellar performer, Professor Oloyede. So I'm sure that the team is put together and he himself will really take a close look at this and solve this problem.
How confident are you that this team that they have put together and the fact that they've decided to handle it this way would restore confidence in those who are writing the UTME exams?
First, my confidence level is high in the prof. I've not met him, but just by reputation. I think also that they will need to do something specific for those who have complained. A repeat exam, a receipt exam, something that would enable those who have not written this exam or who have issues with this exam to take it again. Let me quickly say that I attended 2 secondary schools, and my first secondary school in Lagos had problems with their WAEC exam. Their exams were not released. The results were not released. And till today, there are a significant number of people in that school that never went back to write the exam. And that changed because of their lives. So this is something extremely serious for the students who are affected by this, and JAMB needs to take it that seriously. You may be permanently changing the course of people's life if you don't give them a chance to fix this.
Well, we do hope that this certainly would yield the result that is satisfactory to both JAMB and those who have complained. We have to thank you very much for coming on our program. Mr. Boson Ayeni is the CEO of Compumetrics. Thank you so much once more.
Thank you for having me.